Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Rocks and Roots podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tumbles, and once again through the screen is...
Frankie, good evening.
Good evening.
We have announcements.
We do. So we do have a guest this evening, but we would like to clue you in on a few 2022 announcements. Crank, would you like to go first?
Sure. So our numbers, again, grading on a Rocks and Roots scale, our numbers have exploded. We are doing very well, so we wanted to thank everyone, and we wanted to thank our guests. The reason we're doing so well is because of our guests.
You guys are great.
So, our first announcement is we have a Patreon, which you set up, so I'm going to let you give the details on it.
Okay, we're going back and forth here. So yes, we have started a Patreon. I will preface this with, there's no pressure whatsoever, but full transparency, we do pay 2 subscriptions to keep this podcast going. The first one is through Podbean, and that is the platform we use to get our episodes up onto Apple. That is $15 a month. And we also pay a subscription to Zoom, so we can talk to our guests for more than 40 minutes. If you don't have a subscription, they do knock you off after 40. That is also $15 a month. So we decided perhaps our listeners could help us out a bit. It's, again, no pressure, but we have 2 tiers for your
Convenience,
yes. Our first tier is called the Day Hiker because you have to go to work tomorrow tier, and that is $3 a month. And for $3 a month, you get a bonus episode. Crank and I are in the talking phases of the bonus episodes at the moment, so we will keep you up to date on that.
Ooh, I just got a crazy awesome idea for one. I'll tell you when we're done.
See, it's a secret. You have to join the Patreon.
Teasing. We're getting good at this shit. What else do they get?
Our listeners also get for the $5 a month tier, which is called the Section Hiker because you got a few days off. For the $5 a month tier, you get that bonus episode and I think this is the most exciting thing. We decided to do a live for our $5 a month subscribers. We will do this live probably on YouTube, and we may or may not show our faces. Oh my god. I'm thinking of different types of masks we can get to show off our lovely faces. I'm thinking a squirrel mask for me. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We want to chat with our listeners, do an AMA, hang out, talk shit, talk trail. That's what we have planned so far. To piggyback on that, I did mention YouTube. Yes, we do have a YouTube channel that we just started. So Crank, I will throw this over to you and you can explain our YouTube channel.
Okay, so I guess we're going to do more videos of our hikes. I guess we can do our lives on there. We really are in the development phase, so...
I actually started this. I just threw them under the bus.
Yes.
I started to actually put our episodes up on YouTube as well. So the most recent episode, if you're listening to this in real time, is Neil Lyon's episode of the White Mountains. That is episode 44, is up currently on YouTube. If you just type in the Rocks and Roots podcast, you will definitely find us, so please subscribe. I'm trying to figure out how to get our past episodes up on there because I don't like clutter on my phone, so I've deleted a lot of our episodes that are already up on Apple, and I'm trying to figure out how to download them again. So, if anyone has any suggestions on how to do that, please let us know, because I'm kind of tech stupid when it comes to this. But other than that, that is the 2 big announcements of the evening. Tumbles, was talking about merch maybe later in the year, but we shall see, depending on how many people actually really love us. So.
Which I suppose we're going to find out, because now we're asking people for money.
Oh, I know. No pressure, guys. We love you.
Yes.
Crank, anything else before we get Dragonsky on?
The TikTok, one of my New Year's resolutions was to learn more shit. So I have an awesome book called Nature's Garden I've been going through on our TikTok and researching and explaining edible plants. So check that out. I also do knots up there, and when we get out on trail again and we do some overnights, I'll be doing some campsite and camp life hints and tips.
Awesome. Funny thing, I was futzing around on TikTok a few days ago, and I was scrolling through it, and I'm like, oh, this looks like a cool book. I want to see more of this video. I'm like, who would love this? Cranky. And yeah, it was actually our own video, so.
That's hilarious.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, anywho, all of this, of course, will be in the show notes. I will plug us now before we get Dragonsky on. As usual, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a comment, leave us a review, hopefully a good one.
Thank you for those that left reviews.
Oh, yeah.
We noticed a small spike in our reviews, so thank you. Mm-hmm. We are at all 5s at the moment. Let's keep that streak going.
Yes, thank y'all. We are on the Instagram. We're trying to get more up on the Instagram too. We may be thinning ourselves out of the socials, but we're going to try. Rocks_and_roots_pod is Instagram. TikTok is rocks_roots_podcast. YouTube is the Rocks and Roots podcast, and Patreon is also the Rocks and Roots podcast. So we are going to be inundating your ears and eyes. And we, once again, as always, thank you so much for listening. And without further ado, here's our episode with Dragonsky. Well, good evening, Dragonsky. It is so lovely to chat with you.
Same here. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
It is our pleasure. So, for those of you who do not know, Dragonsky is an Appalachian Trail thru-hiker.
2021, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. You finished fairly recently. That's we'll get into the story of how we heard of you, which is kind of interesting and involves some social media garbage. But welcome. And you also wrote an article called Not Just Another Hiker that was picked up by the Trek and went viral. So we can talk about that a little bit if you would like. But usually we like to start with the hiking background. What is your story and what got you into hiking?
Okay, yeah. So basically my story started last year during COVID. I lost my job, and because I lost my job, I started hiking because it just triggered my anxiety. So I was like, okay, I lost all the structure and what I thought I was supposed to be my whole life, which was, vet tech. But instead I found nature. Like there was a man at Harriman. I was hiking with my ex, and he was like, behind me is the Appalachian Trail, runs from Georgia to Maine. And it just I just got so interested and kind of just dove down this rabbit hole and just started researching things on YouTube and researching other hikes near me and joining a North New Jersey hiking group. And I just started hiking the AT in New Jersey and PA, and then started with state parks just to get myself familiar with it, because I've never hiked. So this is my first year hiking period. So when he told me that, after losing my job, I kind of, like I said, I went down the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this. And I wanted to see if other people had heard of the Appalachian Trail, because I didn't hear of it. I didn't even know there were mountains in New Jersey. So I was like, okay, interesting. And there was a whole group of all these people who hiked the Appalachian Trail. And then I joined the group because I wanted to, meet people and stuff and ask questions about the trail. And one of those questions was about my safety as a Black woman in the South. And that just spurred a bunch of hate, actually. Me asking about my safety after Ahmad was killed jogging. People were just the trees don't see any color, and just sending me really nasty things, repulsive, just gross messages. And then I just wrote an article. I was so mad. So I wrote an article because I was upset, and I was like, I'm going to write to Oprah, I'm going to write to whoever hears this, and then someone, I guess, in the group contacted the ATC because they're the ones that actually like published it first. My article, not just another hiker, and then the Trek cross-published it. So
Okay.
That went really, really quickly. So when did you do your hike in Harriman versus writing your article and then actually getting on trail? What was the turnaround time?
Oh man, Harriman, I'm pretty sure that was winter time because it's like hard because I've been on trail for like the past 9 months.
Right.
I think it was like probably the winter, like kind of that New Year, January area. And then I wrote the article. I think that went viral in either April. So it was kind of fast. Yeah, so that went viral really fast after that. And then as soon as it went viral, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Because I didn't know how I was going to be able to do this. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about gear. I'm like, I can't afford this gear. Like, the numbers to hike the trail just seem like, wild. So me having, the article gone viral, I had so many opportunities from, people asking me to write for them and companies willing to sponsor me and stuff. And that's what kind of got me out. That's like the timeline of that. It was like the man at Harriman during the winter, then me joining the group, losing my job. That was around March-ish. Yeah, and then writing the article right after then.
What a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been like, it's been a whirlwind. I never expected this.
Oh, man. Well,
so you actually, I'm sorry, Tumbles, I cut you off. You actually gave us a perfect transition. One of our questions was about sponsorship. So that's awesome. Anytime you can get a company to pay for your stuff, that's fantastic. So who are you sponsored by?
So during my hike, I had 6 Moons Designs. They really came through and helped me a lot with like my packs, umbrella, tent. Then Z-Packs came in later on. I don't even know if they're like a sponsor, but they've been helping me. Like they've been sending me gear, and Lightning Equipment has been, supporting me by sending me gear. Backpacker, I was vlogging for them through my hike. So I was compensated to do that, and also I was working on a podcast for them, so that helped me tremendously. And then the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, they're the ones that officially, like, they're the first sponsor. Like, once they got my article, they were like, we want to sponsor you.
I applaud your willingness to just go for it. I would love to do a thru-hike, but...
Wouldn't we all?
Yes. Sometimes, Tumbles and I talk about this frequently. There's bills to pay. I have a mortgage. I have a lovely wife. I can't just drop for 6, 7, 8 months. So the fact that you were able to do that and you just went for it, I kind of applaud that. I admire anyone who is willing to just say, you know what, I'm going to do it. No excuses. Let's get it done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I knew I had to. That's just the mindset that I had going into it. And then taking on the Triple Crown, I was like, well, I've faced mountains in my life before, so I'm like, I can do this. And when I say I'm going to do something, I always follow through and do it for myself. Like the AT, like every day, that was my individual decision to get up in rain and snow and thunder and lightning, all sorts of stuff that I had to just like adapt to. But I still was able to, like, every day, like, tomorrow's not going to be like this if it is a bad day.
Definitely. What we often, once again, talk about is that when we watch vlogs and we read articles and listen to podcasts, a lot of people overlook the bad times and the tough times on trail. And we always say we want more real. IB Tat, for example, does it real. He cries on the camera, he curses, frustration, and that's what you do as well. And we always enjoy seeing that.
Because it's like I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could be myself, but I'm like, I'm a New Jerseyan. Like, we're just very blunt. We curse so much. We're very passionate people. And I'm like, I just want to be real with people. I do. I don't want it to be all like the sunshine and rainbows and stuff I've seen on YouTube, because I'm like, the reality is like mud, mosquitoes, the sun is eating you, baking you. I mean, there's times my tent almost got blown off. Like, that's the reality of it. And, like, I've cried. And that's a lot for me, too, to be vulnerable to cry. Because I'm like, usually I'm like, I don't want to cry in front of people. But I was like, I want to show the world this is really what it is. This is not like, yep, every day's blue. And it's just like climbing easy mountains. Because it's not.
True
or
story.
Waiting until you get to the summit and then starting your video and skipping, the difficult climb. So how did you get your trail name? It's a very interesting trail name.
Oh, yes. My name, Dragonsky. Actually, I named myself, or I should say the dragonfly named me. This actually happened, this happened on the Suffering Bear Mountain Trail in New York. So this is close to Harriman. So I got it off another trail. I was hiking with a person that I wasn't really close with. I had just started hiking, so I joined these groups, and someone's like, let's do this trail. And I was like, okay, I camped with him once. And we're hiking. I think it was like day 2 of our hike. And he wanted me to lead the hike. And I don't walk that fast, so he's just being passive aggressive the whole time. We're never going to make it.
That's not nice.
Yeah, just really nasty. And then I'd be like, do you want to lead? And he's like, no. But I'm just like, okay. So after just moments of that, minutes and minutes of that, I just had a panic attack. I just went into anxiety mood and took off and just started powering down the mountain and then fell into this boulder. And my legs started bleeding and swelled up the size of a marble. And he's like, I don't have time for your feelings and all this mess. You need to go talk to someone and go take care of that. And so I feeling very alone now because I've never really gone out and done a multi-day backpacking trip. And I got on the phone with my friend and I was like, I feel very alone right now and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get off this mountain. I don't feel comfortable leaving. And I'm just upset and distraught. And then I get off the phone with my friend. I go to sit on this boulder. I missed it the first time and ended up falling on my butt. And got back up, and I'm just throwing my poles, and I'm like, oh, I hate this, and I'm just sad and crying because I feel alone. And then at that moment, something lands on my head, and I'm like, what is this? It's a huge thing on my head, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then I look down on my foot, and it's an orange dragonfly just sitting on the edge of my foot, just with me, and I until I stopped crying. And then at that moment the sky opened up. It was a gray day and the sky just opened up with this dragonfly and me, and I was like, oh, that's my name is Dragonsky.
You found your spirit animal.
Yes, they've always been my spirit animal since I was 9.
Wow. I'm terribly sorry to hear about that story, though. That really troubles me. We always say nature is our therapy, and to be out in nature and then dealing with someone so negative, I can't even imagine. But you've overcome this, and you're basically out to say, you know what, I can do it.
Yeah, even though it was bad, it was a learning experience, it's just okay, I really need to know who I'm going with when I go out. And I kind of learned from it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, and I'm sorry to cut you off, that is, so actually I wanted to ask first, so this was just an online group you found? You don't have to name the group, but this is just an online group that you found?
Yeah, an online hiking group.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We always say, glad that you had this learning experience and we can share it with our listeners. Always know who you're going with.
Yeah.
It's very, very important, and exactly for that reason. But we are definitely glad that everything turned out okay, and we're glad your spirit animal showed up to help you out, and that is a really awesome trail name.
Thank you. Yes. So I love my name. I'm glad that I didn't have anyone else name me. I actually wrote a whole article about that, about what's in a trail name. And I was like, I don't want to be named by anyone. I just didn't want to.
Why, if you don't mind me asking?
Because my article is more I was speaking with a friend. She's also a Black woman, and she's was talking about Black people being named. In history by white people, just us constantly being given names. And also it's an indigenous practice, the history of trail naming. And so she was thou shalt not taketh any more names from white people, because I had heard from other, in my article, I had interviewed other hikers that were given trail names solely based off of them being Black. And I didn't want that experience, so I said I was going to take the power back and just name myself and leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, that last part definitely makes sense. Very cool. So let's talk Appalachian Trail. So once again, congratulations. Anyone that does that through hike, I admire automatically. So your hike took 8 months. When did you start? I think you finished in October, if I remember right. But when did you start?
I started February 22nd, 2021.
So did you hit snow in Georgia up on like Blood Mountain and through that area?
Nope, unfortunately not. It was very warm. I was very upset about it because I am a snow hiker.
Would be too.
Yeah,
we would be too.
What is the earth doing and what is going on? The Jordans were like, we don't know what's going on. They're like, this isn't normal. I'm like, it shouldn't be sad. Like, I was out in a sports bra, like a Blood Mountain, like in my video. So that just shows you everything. Like,
that's crazy. I mean, when we went to do that section of trail in June of 2020, it was cold.
Yes.
And there you are in February in shorts and a sports bra. That's not fair.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't get the real colds. I mean, honestly, it was until like the end of my hike because I ended November 17th. So like New England, I was like, Georgia was cute compared to like New England when it came to cold because it was just so warm and foggy. It rained a lot. It rained a lot in Georgia.
Yeah, we got rained on as well. I can definitely identify there. So how does that work? Because my understanding, and I'm obviously wrong, my understanding was that Baxter closed at the end of October. So how do you work that where you can get in November?
I just flipped. Like
okay.
Yeah, I flipped up and then hiked southbound because I didn't want to rush. I'm like, there were thru hikers getting really injured because they were like getting exhausted and also just like pummeling out the miles and missing the 100-mile wilderness. And I'm just like, I don't want to like miss this, everyone talks about this section. So I was like, I don't want to rush. I just want to take it the way I want to. So I summited, I think it was October 5th. I went up and then flipped down.
Good for you. I mean, that's a very awesome outlook to have. You want to enjoy the time that you have out there. So you summited October 5th. Do you know when the last day was that hikers were allowed to get up there?
I think it was October. They closed it October 20th. Yeah, because they closed it. Yeah, the day after my birthday, they closed it because of something with the vegetation being sensitive.
Yep.
And overrun. Yeah.
All right, and then you flipped down, and then where did you officially end your hike?
It was Andover, Maine.
Andover, Maine. Okay. And how many miles is that between Baxter or Katahdin and Andover?
Oh, man. I do not. That's like the bottom of Maine.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that's like by Gorham. It's like getting close to Gorham down there.
Oh, okay. So you were nearby civilization then?
Yeah, I was kind of, somewhat. There's like not many people, not many shuttle drivers, barely. It was hard for me to get a shuttle, and it was snowing, so.
What an adventure. I mean, 8 months. So yeah, like Cranky was saying earlier, that's how we actually came across you, Dragonsky, was on Instagram, and I believe it was the trek that put your picture up and congratulated you on your thru hike. And saying that it took you 8 months, but you did it. It was amazing. And then the troll started. How does it take someone 8 months? What were you doing wrong? And just kept going on and on and on. And Cranky and I were like, what the hell? I mean, I guess hike your own hike is thrown out the window.
I think it's just so overused. It's one of those terms that is used so much that it loses its meaning, and it loses its impact. So people hear it all the time, and it just, at this point, for so many people in the hiking community, it really doesn't mean anything. And we always have said, it's really, really important. It may sound corny. It may be overused. You may have heard it 1,000 times, but it is after safety, and it actually is part of safety. It's one of the most important principles that we need to maintain on trail is hike your own fucking hike.
Seriously.
So that's how we heard of you. We were fending off the trolls. So what, did you just take your time? Did you take zeros, see the sights? Why exactly did it take 8 months?
Okay, it took me 8 months because I really wanted to first off, honestly, in the beginning, I got injured. So, like, I started off, and then I got to Outdoor 76, awesome shoe place. Had to switch out my shoes because my ankles were swelling up. Like, my ankles were just rolling all the time to the point where, like, my body's just not correcting it anymore. And I'm, like, in danger of, like, breaking my ankle. Ow. So I took, like, a few days off in Franklin. I took a week off in Hot Springs. And then I was like, I really can't be doing what everyone else is doing because people were doing this straight out the bat. They're like, oh, I did 18 straight out the bat. And I'm like, okay. Like, at first I was like, I want to, catch up with people and stuff. And then I'm like, after you, like, hurt yourself and you realize, like, yeah, you do one wrong step and your hike is over. Like, you could just be injured and that's it. That was really on my mind. So I slowed it down. Also, like, I've had days with my depression where it, like, takes me longer to get up. Or, like, I miss days because it's hard for me to function sometimes. So I take self-care days in the forest to myself. So that took time. I also do side quests. Like, I went on a camping trip in Delaware. I went to DC. I went to Roanoke. Jumping in and out of places. The aqua blazing from Front Royal. Just taking side quests, hanging out with people. The dragonflies, my fans. Like, I had lots of dragonflies along the way that, like, offered me their, like, houses to stay at. And dinner and stuff, so that took time off. But honestly, I didn't want to rush. I didn't see the point of that. Like, being on trail the first week and realizing, like, when I woke up, I think it was the third day, I was like, why is there nobody here? I was really confused. I was like 8 o'clock and I was like, everyone's gone. And, like, people come into the shelter, like, boasting about their 30-mile days and stuff. And, like, I met, like, a few other thru hikers, like, my tramway that I had, like, they were like me. They were like, I slowed them down and they were very appreciative of it because they were like, yeah, like, they don't want to push big miles. They want to enjoy it too. Like, I stealth camp where I want to stealth camp. If I hike 2 miles and there's a great campsite, I'm going to not pass it up. So, Yeah,
definitely. And, they usually say when you start, if it's your first long distance hike, even if you feel good, they usually say start out low mileage and then build from there. We have many years of hiking experience behind us, but we would start low mileage too on a long distance hike. It wards off injury and you don't bonk or quit later on. So well done. And well done for for making the most of your hike. Going to see the sights. You're from New Jersey, so I don't know how often you travel, but you took advantage of traveling outside the trail. And that's something we love to travel as well. So that's definitely something that we encourage all hikers to do.
Yeah, there's, like, so much to see. I'm like, especially up north, I went to Concord. I forgot how to say that. Concord, because you don't pronounce the R, Concord. I went to, like, I had a dragonfly in North Adams. We went to the Mass Mocha. I did things that other hikers didn't do, like go to the Mass Mocha. Like, nobody knows about North Adams. There's, like, LGBT people, there's black people, it's like there's young people there. It's great. I'm like, can't wait to go back because I'm speaking at Williams College and I was like, I fell in love with North Adams.
Yeah.
Just, like, little things like that, and just having that time to take time to spend time there and not just go through that trail town. Because there's some towns I'm like, okay, I don't ever want to see ever again in my life,
Yes.
But some of them I'm just like, I'm glad I sat there for a few days.
So North Adams, it's in Massachusetts, and it's the town with, does it have a mill and the river runs through it?
It's Greylock.
Okay, yes, that's exactly the town. We enjoyed that town too, actually.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's a great place. I love that. I was like, yeah, at first I saw it. I was like, when I crossed the highway, and I was like, oh, the Berkshires. And I was like, what is this, the Hamptons? I was like, is this like Connecticut? Because Connecticut, I'm like, ill. I would not not hiker friendly, you know. But
we agree. Yes.
Yay! I'm glad. I was like, Kent, no, just stay. Trail Connecticut blew me out of the water. Like, I wasn't expecting that on the AT for Connecticut, but
I did not like. I mean, it's one of the shorter states, and it's one of my least favorite to go through.
Really,
Yeah.
Not Sage's Ravine either, because Sage's Ravine was so.
I was gonna say I liked the river there. We went through a really nice park in Connecticut that I really enjoyed, and then the falls there I enjoyed. So there's not like a lot of trail towns in Connecticut, but the trail itself, I didn't. It wasn't amazing, but I didn't think it was too bad.
We'd like to agree to disagree on that one.
Yes, just like Mount Race for our longtime listeners.
Shut up, Crank.
Oh, so I'm going to ask, what did you think of Mount Race? I need to get people on my side for this.
Oh boy, I'm like trying to remember.
It's right after Bear Mountain. That last.
Oh shoot! Yeah. Oh, in Connecticut.
So Bear Mountain, and then you go into Mass, and then there's Mount Race.
Okay, yeah, because there's like those three. There's Ever, and then blah, blah, blah,
yes,
and then you
right there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I don't think I like that.
Yes,
damn it.
I don't think I like that. Bear Mountain was anticlimactic. I was like, this is people like hyping it up like Blood Mountain, and you're like, easy, and then you're like, okay, now it's getting weird, and then the next, and I'm just like, this is really like, because I think I hit it and it was still mosquito time.
Okay. Yep.
And that's what makes it worse. So,
without a doubt. So we haven't kept tally on who likes it and who doesn't, but
I think we're gonna start.
Oh yeah, that's all you can have, Mount. That's not one of my top three. I'm like, not my favorite.
Well, all right, I'm alone on this so far, but I will get people on my side.
Well, speaking of top three,
yes.
Oh, I love these
what
segues.
What an amazing segue!
Oh my god, that's wonderful. Speaking of your top three, what were your big three pieces of gear? Your pack, your tent, and Cranky put the footwear.
Okay, footwear. All right, pack, 6 Smooth Swift X. That was my pack. I carried it along the whole way. It's a beautiful pack. It's great because if you have back issues, it's really supportive. Love that.
Oh, great.
Shelter actually changed because I started with the Big Agnes Copper Spur and then I went over to the 6 Moon Sky Trekker, and then after I had a bad incident where it flooded on the roller coaster, and that was the end of that. And then I switched to Z-Pex Duplex. Z-Pex Duplex being my favorite out of the three. And then you said shoes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God, this is controversial now. See, I'm like, because I'm like, the shoes. I've worn Hoka's. And some people, will burn me at the stake for it. So, because you lose your heel a lot. You do. I will say that. The heel just falls off the shoe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I found them to be very comfy through, PA. And New Hampshire.
I just recently got myself a pair of Hoka's, and since we do trail running, I've only worn them once. And they are a shoe definitely that you have to get used to, especially if you are used to zero drop like we are. But you know what? Forget everyone else. If you enjoy those shoes, then wear the hell out of them. It's a trail runner and the ultras. I don't understand. But you're the first person actually that we've talked to and that I've come across really in person that has used Hoka's on their thru hike. So awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I got so many people to convert. They were like, I'm like, yep, I got clown shoes like Goofy from the Goofy movie.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what's that? And I'm like, yeah, I got lots of hikers to switch over. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Because I was like, Solomon was also my sponsor, but I just got their shoes. And I'm like, I like Hoka's though. They're very cushiony. It's just, you got to give or take because they can get worn down really fast. But at the same time, there's comfort, especially with plantar fasciitis like me. That's the thing.
I dealt with that a couple of years ago. No, we truly believe hike your own hike, and that applies to gear and footwear as well. One of our other guests from the Lookout Hostel tried ultras because she was told, we are ultra fans, ultra Lone Peaks. Like, I would not be able to hike without them. But, she tried them and ended up ending her hiking for 8 months almost because they destroyed her feet. They destroyed her ligaments. So it's whatever is best for you, is what you need to wear. So if those work for you, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I say with shoes. That's why I don't really recommend shoes. Like, people will ask me on my Dragonflies, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I just won't, because feet are individual. I'm like, I wear 9.5. I may have narrow feet, or planter. You may have, like, wide feet. We have different, we're individuals. So I'm not going to say that, because you just don't know what works and what doesn't until you try it.
No, 100%.
Yeah, we always say the ultras work for us. I have flat ass feet, and that works for me with the wide toe box. So, but that's, like I said, it's what works for me.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the other things that we wanted to ask you about was when we did Georgia, we got robbed of trail magic because we went during COVID. Our work schedules were a little different. We had more time, so we took advantage and we went. So we went through and none of the trail magic was there. Everything was roped off with caution tape. Did that reopen this past hiking season? What was the trail magic like for this past season?
Well, I left in February because I didn't want to be around people, honestly.
Right, so you're not going to get any...
Yeah, like my what I define as trail magic is may not be what others define as trail magic. Because I'm like, I met fresh grounds, but I also had, like, dragonflies who would come and, like, give me trail magic. I've had people who, like, hiked with me in areas where I didn't feel safe and stuff. And that's, like, big to me. Or, like, just, like, you're just, like, I always missed it, too. I always missed it because they have the little coolers, like, when there's a cooler and it's, like, free whatever. And you're, like, taking the gamble and it's, like, a 50-50 chance there's going to be food. And most of the time I'm like, oh, man. I'm too slow. So yeah, I didn't really get like much trail magic, and I didn't really expect it either. Like, it's like I appreciate it when it happened, but I was like, okay, well, I started early and it is what it is at the same time. Because I've met other hikers who were mad, and I'm just like, people come out like fresh grounds making pancakes, blueberry pancakes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was like my first trail magic, and I was like, oh my god, this exists. But then after that it was like, okay, when was the next time? Like, no, I didn't really have trail magic. I like
sounds like you made your own. You were kind of a hiking celebrity, kind of a viral hiker before you really started your thru hike, so it sounds like you were able to make your own trail magic. So not necessarily traditional, but it sounds like you had plenty of help, which is exactly what the trail does. It brings people together. We say that it brings out both the best and the worst in people, but usually it brings out more of the best. So very glad that you had a lot of help to get you through.
Yeah, me too, because I don't know how I would have got through. Like, I wouldn't have gotten up to Maine if my Dragonfly, my friend in New Hampshire, driving me from North Conway to Baxter and then driving herself back. And I was like, you want gas her? And she's like, no, she just wants to help. And it's like people like that. Or when I had my tooth problem when I was in Rangeley at Maine Roadhouse, and I had a Dragonfly come from Albany, to try to get me to a dentist in Albany. And it's like, these people are amazing. My friend Dragonfly in Tennessee, who came and picked me up when I was in a place where I didn't feel comfortable, and she got me out of there and took me to Elizabethtown. We got drinks, and she took me food shopping. She slack packed me, and I'm like, that's the kindness. And I'm like, I am very fortunate and blessed in the fact that, yes, that before I came out here, that I had the support because of my writing, which was something, again, I didn't expect. I wasn't going into the writing oh my God. I'm I'm very shy, actually. So, like, it just all kind of snuck up on me, but that's, like, the trail magic I've had, and the people who've been with me, they've been able to, like, in Connecticut, like, when I was with my family, we had a dragonfly, like, take us and bring us to a hotel, because there's, like, no place really to get, into town, and it's just, like, everyone who's with me got trail magic. Sunrise Mountain, like, I had a dragonfly there. And she brought bagels and Wawa and hoagies and just, like, Jersey girl, like, everything. And I was just so happy. And I'm like, you didn't have to do this, but you're amazing, So it's just people like that, really, that have really made a difference. And they have gone, like, out of their way. And I'm like, you don't have to do this. But they're like, we want to. And we know our limits. And we just want to be a part of your journey and support you and, what you're doing in this community. And it means so much to me.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Humbles.
No, that's fine. I mean, I was just going to mention Neil, who we interviewed last week. That sense of community. It's everywhere on the trail.
And I was going to mention, we have experienced it from the other side, Tumbles. We follow IB Tat, and it was one of the most exciting experiences in our hiking journey when I got a DM from him saying, hey, I'm in Delaware Water Gap, PA. I need a box. Can you help me out? And I immediately texted Tumbles, and we were in the car, like, racing up there. And we were so excited to meet, this person that we had seen on YouTube that we learned so much from. So I imagine that's how your fans felt about helping you. It was a pleasure rather than a burden.
Yeah, that's what they, like, felt like. They were just, like, they just really wanted to help, and they really stood, I mean, some of my dragonflies, because I hate the word fans, I'm like, it sounds so generic, because the dragonflies are my spirit animals. So, like, these beautiful souls are just, like, really looking out for me, and they've read all my writings, and they follow me, and they're, like, supportive, and, like, even when things happen on Instagram, I'm like, they have my back, I'm good, they're great, and I don't even know, it just makes me want to cry, because they're just been I wouldn't be where I am without the support of strangers that, like, really support what I do. And just, like, going for the Triple Crown as well, and having that support and having it from companies, it's just wild.
Oh, yeah, a whirlwind over the past year. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times now, as well as you mentioned in your article, that you were nervous and uncomfortable about hiking in some places on the AT. Would you mind going into that? And does this have to do with your gender, your race, preferences? Why were you so uncomfortable?
And if I could dovetail on that, did you encounter any of that? Because you mentioned it in your article, but your article was before you hiked. What did you actually encounter?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's all race. Because, I mean, I can hide. I'm a lesbian, but, like, no one's going to know that. Like, I can't hide that part of me, but I can't hide my blackness. And I'm like, that's also why I want to do the CDT, because I'm like, I'm exhausted. The Appalachian Trail has been the most exhausting, like, space I've ever been in terms of, like, racism. I'm talking trail towns. Like, not being able to walk around. There's racist hikers because people think, oh, how could that be? And I'm like, well, if you're an asshole in the real world, you think you're not an asshole in the forest? There's assholes. There's people from places all around this country that have never seen black people. So I have had, and I mean, even hiking with my other friend, and he's a person of color, like us being, like him being targeted in Bennington, in Vermont, and then me constantly, like, having to, like, it was Angel's Rest. Like, I was sitting there, and then, all the hikers leave, and these two older white hikers come up to me, and they're just like, why am I called a racist? My dad fought in the Union Army, and then just start, like, firing all these, like, racial things at me. And the hostel owner is there, because I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, okay. I ended up just snapping. I was like, get the fuck out of my face. I was like, you got 5 seconds to leave me alone. I'm not the spokesperson for black people. They got kicked out the hostel because the hostel owner saw what was going on too. And she's like, I'm tired of this. She's like, this is what, like, people shouldn't be harassing me. And I'm like, I've been harassed on this trail by so many hikers. I've been harassed in Tennessee especially. That's why I'm like, I can't. There was a section of trail I had to skip for my safety there. And then Pinmar Park, being a sundown town, like where like you cannot be black after dark. There was a woman who is from Ohio that moved there, and I was in the shelter because it was thunderstorming, and I was supposed to get back to like a friend was supposed to pick me up because I was getting slack packed, and she's like, honey, you can't be out here after dark. They will kill you. You're black. Can't be out here. And also Black Elation told me about Pinmar. You know, Acuna, like the black hikers told me about Pinmar and how like messed up it is. So it's just like spaces like that in New England, like you got like horrible. It's just like the amount of racism that I've experienced on this trail and in the towns more specifically is what's jarring. And because I did drop boxes, because I'm a plant-based eater, I had to go into towns frequently and I would get very anxious about it.
Wow. I mean, we do not condone harassment in any way, shape, or form. So I'm sorry you've had these experiences. And I hope, well, it does sound like it, there was more good than bad that you've experienced on trail, correct?
Yes, I would say yes, as long as I was by myself, which is what I ended up doing a lot. That's why I started stealth camping, because I was like, I gotta get away. Because I'm not going to be here and be the spokesperson for black people on this trail and get my hair touched and stuff. Like, I just started getting really, like, I actually developed social anxiety on the AT because of the stuff that was happening. So I just pushed away from people. And then after that, it kind of just stuck to myself and, like, my family members that I had. And I was pretty good after that. But it's, like, a mixed bag. Like, I would never do the AT ever again. And because I heard the PCT is more diverse too, like it's more diversity out there, but the AT is not. But that's why I'm out here too. I'm like, I gotta show up. I have to show black and brown people that we're out here doing this. So I'm on this trail to lead the way. You know.
Yeah, definitely sorry to hear that. Because we have found like many different people on trail, and we always lead by example. We always interact with everybody, and we found all sorts of people, race, color, creed on the trail, and it's been a wonderful experience to meet a variety of people. In PA, we encountered a group. It was a school group of African American girls, and they were just out there with their school doing a trip, like getting used to camping and learning, and that was fantastic to see. So, yeah, I'm sorry that you experienced some of the negative end of that.
And not to mention, I mean, because you were going at your pace, you started early to stay away, but then the bubble caught up with you too. So I'm sure that did not help.
No, the bubble, I mean, like, I met some awesome people.
Right.
Like, there are people I met that I'm like, I mess with you for life. Wills, I mess with you for life. Like, you know, like, hiking with the 3Ks, like, shout outs to them. Like, these are people that are real and that, like, I'm lifelong friends with. But, like, I'm very, and also being who I am, people knowing who I am, I'm also very, like, okay, very protective of my energy and my space. So I just learned to be more of that, and I learned to kind of be alone, which is kind of the opposite of the AT, because I started it like wanting a tramily, and then I was like, I kind of need to learn how to be alone and to stand on my own 2 feet. And because of that, and just learning to be okay, because I wasn't getting a tramily, because I can't also keep up with the tramily, because people are like, you know, someone's making the decisions every day, and they're like, we're going to do this many miles, and everyone's like doing the miles, and I'm like, but what if I can't do that? And I didn't want that pressure, so I just set off and kind of just was on my own.
But, you know, your tramily are your dragonflies.
Yes, they are.
You know?
I realized that, too. I really did. Like, they really are my family, and I still talk to so many, you know, people, and I'm gonna hike with some of them. So they're special to me.
Great. Do you have any dragonflies out west? Because it's been in your articles, you've been talking about it now, you want to do the Triple Crown. Are there any of your dragonflies out west?
The PCT, yes. The CDT, not really. I mean, there's been people, like, I guess I posted my summit photo in one group, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, let me know when you're out here, because I have a few people in Wyoming, but other than that, I'm not really sure. Okay. And I'm kind of nervous anyway about the CDT, but
it is a daunting trail. I was on it for a grand total of a mile and in New Mexico,
wow.
and I was like, there is like 3,000 miles between me and Canada. That's really a daunting thing to think about.
Yeah, it's I used to be afraid of it, but I'm not even gonna lie. I'm afraid. I'm scared as hell. But at the end of the day, fear is what drives me. Like, I've climbed Adio-Kachuk, aka Mount Washington. Like, I've done things by myself, and so I am ready to face my fears. I don't want to run from them. I mean, the grizzly thing is like, all right, I'm a little, not gonna lie, the grizzly thing is what gets to me. You know, the grizzly bears. But other than that, I'm like, all right, let's do it. I know the San Juans are gonna be rough, and the water carries. But I really want to see Glacier and Yellowstone again, and the Tetons.
Glacier does not disappoint. I went a few years ago just to visit. It was incredible. So you have plenty to look forward to. So CDT, that seems like your next trail, correct?
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm going for, the gold.
Oh, excellent. So when are you planning this thru-hike?
Probably 420.
Oh, this year?
Yeah. I just like that date because my tag number was also 420 on the AT, so...
It's not just because of pot, right?
Yeah, no, because it's pot holiday.
It's pot holiday, right?
Like, I was like, once the AT granted me number 420, I was there, and I was like, you guys know me so well. I was like, I am the safety meeting coordinator. How did you know? And I was like, yep, I'm leaving on 420. Sounds like a good time to go, because you don't want to get, to Colorado, to the San Juans before June 6th because of the snow melt.
Okay. We're excited to follow you on this journey. I always seem to enjoy CDT videos more than PCT videos because it's kind of more of the unknown trail. So very much looking forward to you starting and following you on that journey.
Yes, thank you. I can't wait. I want to make a movie of it.
Yes.
There's not many CDT movies out there, so...
I actually wanted to jump back. I was letting you guys go off on the Triple Crown, but I wanted to circle back and revisit. You said you spent a lot of time alone, which is actually kind of awesome. Did that help the anxiety, or did that make the anxiety worse? Just that time to think and contemplate. And then I'll tell you why I'm asking in a minute.
Okay, being alone was actually better, like, honestly, because it just gave me time to be okay and stealth camp where I want to camp and just be in control, in a sense of like my own atmosphere, like what I wanted for myself.
Yeah, for different reasons, obviously, but I can definitely identify with that sense of control. On our longer hikes, on our longer section hikes, I have enjoyed the only thing that you have to do is get up and walk, and then you decide when you're stopping, where you're stopping. Once you get in that groove, it is a wonderful feeling. And just that time to think and contemplate has been very, very helpful for both Tumbles and myself when we've been out there. And sometimes we'll split up. Tumbles will go ahead and okay, now it's time to be alone and just bask in the aloneness. So that's kind of why I was asking. So I'm glad that time alone was helpful.
Yeah, now I understand. Yeah, it definitely is. Like, when you're with the trees and the river and just nature, I feel like also it's very spiritually connected. I'm not religious at all, but, like, I just feel like I'm one with the earth. Like, nature's called me out here. And I just start, like, getting these positive, like, affirmations, and I start dancing. I get in my little music, and I'm just happy and hugging the trees and throwing the leaves. And it's like I can just I feel like just free to be me. If I want to scream off the top of a mountain because I'm alone, guess what? I can scream off the top of a mountain. So there's, like, power in that, especially I feel like as a woman. Like, me being a solo woman, because a lot of other women there were women who looked at me like I was, like, out of it. They're like, how can you do this alone? And I'm just like, because I'm very, like, I also know what I'm capable of. Like, I'm very confident in myself. I know how to defend myself. And I'm just like, once you find your freedom of being alone and learning to depend on yourself, and you are the voice of reason of making your choices, it, like, gives you an independence that I can't really explain.
Yeah, and Again, I'm coming from a completely different perspective than you, but the commonality and the common ground there is the trail and being out there. And that is one of the best aspects of this. I never know whether to call it a sport or a hobby. We kind of alternate, but that is one of the best aspects of hiking, is no matter who you meet, you can be from completely different parts of the country or the world. We met an Australian out there.
Wow.
Completely different genders, races, orientations, and in the world, that stuff could be dividing, that could be divisive, but you automatically have common ground when you meet on trail, no matter who you are or what is going on. With most people, I know you said you had some not nice experiences, but the majority of people, that, automatic sense of common ground has been really, really wonderful to experience.
Yeah, just like the hiker experience and just kind of being together, especially, I mean, there's like that one part of the trail where you go into Hanover, where the AT just like kind of kicks you out abruptly and throws you into like the town, and you're just like, what the hell? And like when I went there and I just saw other hikers, and I'm like, oh my god, there's hikers, and you're just like, oh my god, what type of matrix shit is this? Like, I was just like so confused. I was like, where am I? Why are there college students? And I'm just like, where are the hikers? Where are the packs? Someone who understands. Even now, post trail, I'm like, I'm in contact with my friends because they're the only ones that understand.
Well, that's actually another good segue. How did you feel post-trek? Since you do deal with depression and anxiety so much. People often talk about post-trail depression. Did you experience, or are you experiencing that?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it was worse, like, immediately when I got off in November. Like, after I left the mountain, I just felt dread. I'm like, what do I do? But also I was like, I'm Dragonsky. Like, I'm going to go back to writing, and, I have, like, my book and stuff. So it's not like I was, like, the fear of the unknown. It was just like, well, this is what I've been doing for 9 months. I've been waking up and doing whatever I want. Like, you know what I mean? Just if I want to, my biggest thing is like, yeah, I got to climb a steep mountain. The elevation game makes no sense because it's the AT. That's it. But here it's like, okay, you come back. I'm like, also, this is Philly where I am right now. And I'm like, people are mean. So I'm just like, why are people mean? Like, I'm trying to smile. Like, you want to have the manners you have in the forest, and you're just like thrown into this matrix. And I'm like, this is too much for me. I don't even want to be on the phone. I don't want to be around buildings. I don't like the smells. I am like mad that people are selfish. I'm very like, it's just like this anger and this dread and despair. And like, I've spoken to my other hiker friends, and it's just like, I'm like, it's just like I want to sleep all the time.
Right.
I just want to sleep. And I'm like, I haven't even planned like my next backpacking, because it's like the last time I went backpacking was the AT. So it's like to put on that backpack and to even go on a 2-day hike, I'm just like, oh, am I going to flood tears now? So the way I deal with it, I mean, I'm back in therapy, and I'm planning the CDT, which helps a lot. And also having a book right now with an agent has consumed my time to the point where I'm like, I'm busy, and I'm spending time with my dog, who I haven't seen for 9 months, 8 months. And that helps. But there are days where I honestly just have to reach out to other thru hikers, because I'm like, are you feeling the same? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, we should get together and hike, because there's a few in New Jersey. And I'm like, can we get together?
Aww.
Can we just hike? Because I know we can do the hard things now,
And it's completely understandable. You look at the real world after a long hike like you did, and you're like, these people don't understand at all. So, I mean, I'm glad you're going to therapy. It's definitely helped me. And also, planning your trek is the most important thing to do.
Yeah, it really is. It just gives you like something concrete and a goal to look forward to. And I'm like, this stay in the matrix is temporary. It's not that, like, because some of my friends are like, oh, you'll adjust. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to. That's not the
I was just going to say, you don't
point.
want to adjust.
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm like, I'm temporarily in the matrix until I go on my next hike. So this is a temporary stay. because the forest is the real world. I've explained that. They're like, what are you talking? I'm like, that's the real world before all of these buildings and stuff. Like, I've literally gone on tangents, and people, my friends are like, wow, you've changed. And I'm like, but this is not the real world,
Yes.
I am a huge Matrix fan, and I think I'm going to start using that analogy. I'm going to go on one more tangent, and then we'll wrap it up. I picked up that you said you are in or near Philadelphia and you're not thrilled with it. I completely agree. Philadelphia used to be my favorite city.
Wow.
My wife and I did our mini honeymoon there, like right after we got married, and I used to love it. And having been there 2 or 3 times in the last year, and then 2 times in the last 2 months, I can completely identify with what you're saying about, you get just not a good vibe anymore, and it makes me sad. So especially going from Trail to that city, I could definitely see why you feel that you are in the Matrix.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I'm like, it's a rough trend. Like, it's a rough transition. And before I went on Trail, I thought I wanted to move to Philly. My therapist had actually advised against it because, she's like, what keeps you going? What makes you happy? And I was like, mountains. And she's like, well, does Philly have mountains? And I was like, no. I mean, there's Wickinson, there's Fairmount, right? But there's cars, there's noise pollution, there's constant beeping. I mean, there's there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's like to the point where I don't even want to go outside. So I'm just getting ready to, get back to Jersey because I brought a school bus. So I'll be back to Jersey anyway.
So you're going to do the whole conversion thing and do like van life, or?
Yeah, well, I met a friend on Trail at Palmerton, actually, in Palmerton, and then we became friends, and he built his own bus, and he ended up building a bus for his ex, and then she didn't want it, so he sold it to me, because
cool.
They really needed to get rid of it. So there's a shower in it, and a bed, and a kitchen, and a toilet, and stuff, so it's like partially converted, partially insulated. Like, you can live in it, it just needs a floor, and, solar, some things like that.
Well, I mean, we're looking forward to a video on that. I love those videos. So please post something soon.
Okay, I will.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your schoolie.
Thank you.
Much changing for you. This is exciting. All right. Well, we are wrapping. It's going to slowly start wrapping things up. I guess our last thing before we ask you to promote all of your socials is to tell us a trail story.
Okay, a trail story, any story?
Any story that you'd like.
Okay, oh boy, this is hard. Oh man, okay. I would honestly probably go with the Roan Highlands, being the best story of the trail. Roan Mountain, beautiful mountain, was covered in ice on the top, and I thought that crossing Carver's Gap was the biggest surprise of my life. Honestly, there's nothing that compares to that. And just seeing, like, you just go along and just see the balds, and just balds for, like, I don't even know how many miles, just big bald, little hump, Jane bald. And I went out there, and this was, like, right after a hiker. Like, I had met a hiker, and he was, like, I was asking him about sheltering and stuff, and he's like, why would you do that? He's like, you should camp in cool places. That's what I do. And so it was the Roan Highlands where I first did my first stealth camp. And it was on, I think it was Big Hump. Yeah, it was, like, out on Big Bald, I think. And it was just me. There was not a single thru-hiker for the rest of the night, and I got this 360 sunset and this 360 sunrise all to myself, and it made me feel like very alive. It was at that moment that I knew that I was doing the trail and that I was confident in who I was, and felt like no matter what mountain came before me that I was going to be able to do it after that.
That sounds beautiful, and that's definitely, we're going to get down there soon enough, but that's been on the list for many, many years now, is the Roan Highlands. So what a wonderful experience you had, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We got to finish the Shenandoah first.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Yes, we're doing it.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah, since we're section hikers, the Shenandoah has taken us over a year. And Yeah, my hiking partner's kind of over it, and I'm like, no, we're finishing it. So
It's okay. We're all, trust me, everyone that I've asked this year about Shenandoah, everyone seemed to have a problem. I was only mad because Skyline Drive keeps, like, I feel like you get gypped. You're like, oh, you're going to get a view? Nope, go into the woods. That's the AT. I'm like,
Yes.
come on.
Yep, we thought the same thing.
I'm like, what? This is not right. So I'm like going back to see the rest of it because I feel like I didn't get just like the Smokies. I feel like I got gypped. So
Yes, definitely take those mini vacations to see the rest of those parks. Excellent.
Take your bus on Skyline Drive. It's worth it.
ooh, yes, that's a good idea. I'm definitely gonna do that now. Yes, in Blue Ridge.
Get the there's a national parks pass that you can buy. We bought it. It's $80 a year, and it eliminates a lot of the entrance fees. And if you do Skyline Drive, it almost pays for itself because they charge $30 to do Skyline Drive.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely pick one up because I'm going to Mammoth Cave this weekend. I've got another national park to check off.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so definitely look into that.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, we've kept you over an hour at this point. Would you care to share? You said you're writing a book. You have lots of social media stuff, so plug away.
okay, yes. I have a book at an agent right now, so that's pretty huge. It means it's getting moving. It's going to be called Mountains by Moonlight. I just changed the title. It's a memoir. Just talking about my life growing up with mental illness and also like adding a little bit of the Appalachian Trail mixed in with that. So look towards that probably, hopefully this year, if not next year, early next year. Then there's social media. I am on Instagram at I_am_Dragonsky and on YouTube the same I_am_Dragonsky. Those are my two biggest platforms. I make videos. And I write for Garage Grown Gear and Backpacking Light. And I do podcasts sometimes. So, yeah. You want to catch up and, see what's new and what I'm doing, just, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm always posting updates.
We can vouch for that. Yes, she does.
Thank you.
Well, Dragonsky, it's been a pleasure to chat with you this evening. We enjoyed your company so much.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much. It's been nice chatting with y'all.
Yes, and we hope to catch up again after you get back from the CDT.
Okay, yeah, I'll be done. I would be down.
Oh, fantastic. Well, have a lovely evening, and we shall chat with you soon.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. And everybody, as per standard, follow us on all of our socials. We did mention this in the beginning of the episode. Go back to the beginning to listen because I'm not repeating myself. So, other than that, there's nothing more. Till next week, ciao.